All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about a prediction for the Errol Spence Jr. Terence Crawford fight stylistically and why certain Hall of Fame fighters are wrong about who's going to win that fight. This coming from a very good, I know y'all love the word, source of mine who explains what the prejudice is. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about the Errol Spence Jr. Terence Crawford fight, and specifically what a good friend of mine, not going to tell you their name. You can call it a source. You can call it whatever you want. Very, very knowledgeable boxing fan had to say about why Hall of Fame fighters Roy Jones Jr., Antonio Tarver, James Toney, and those guys pick Terence Crawford to beat Errol Spence Jr. and why they have a bias against Errol Spence Jr. And it is not a personal thing, according to him. But before I get into that, though, let me welcome you back to the channel. If you are new to the channel, please accept my invitation to hit that subscribe button, hit that bell icon so you can be notified of when we release more videos. And if you are a longtime subscriber, thank you for your support. You really, really, really are what keeps this channel going. Thank you for watching the videos. Thank you for hitting that like button, sharing the video, coming by to watching the live streams that we do every day and the videos that we drop every day. It really means a lot. Thank you for making this channel a success. Could not happen without you. Now, let's get into this. All right, so we got a fight hopefully coming up soon. Errol Spence Jr., Terence Crawford, and for the undisputed title of the welterweight undisputed title of the world, where the WBA, where Errol Spence Jr.'s WBA, WBC, and IBF belt will be on the line against Terence Crawford, who holds the WBO title. The latest word out is that the fight is going to be in November, or that they're looking at November in Las Vegas. You've had Steven Espinoza come out and say that he believes the fight is going to happen this year. Errol says he believes the fight is going to happen this year, right? So everybody that is over on the PBC side says that they think it's going to happen this year. So we'll see, but as everybody knows, we'll just sit around and wait till it's officially announced. And then after it's officially announced, we'll have people still saying, I don't believe it, until I see them literally standing and nose to nose with each other, at the official announcement for it, or even in the ring, right? But that's whatever is clever, because it's boxing, man. We're going to talk about a lot of different stuff, and it just, some things happen, things don't happen. Hopefully this fight is one that will happen. And hopefully it will happen this year, because it would just be really, really great for boxing fans. I personally think the whole discussion about the fight has been very good for boxing fans, because it's given people an opportunity to look at really two distinct styles and two fighters that are absolute, I think, both in the prime of their careers. Some people think Terence Crawford may be a little bit beyond his prime. I don't necessarily believe that. I think both these guys are right where they need to be for this fight, hopefully. And it's going to be a spectacular fight. Now, there were Hall of Fame fighters that went through a good amount of time. These guys went about, by say a good amount of time, I mean, it seemed like over about the course of a week, there were a lot of fighters who are Hall of Fame level fighters, or several Hall of Fame level fighters that picked Terence Crawford to win. James Toney picked Terence Crawford to win. Roy Jones Jr. gave a prediction for Terence Crawford to win, but it's not as strong as a lot of people said. And Antonio Tarver as well. Again, though, his prediction was not as strong as a lot of people would lead you to believe. However, I was speaking with a friend of mine, a very knowledgeable boxing guy. Don't share his name, because I want to be able to talk to him on a regular basis and not have a bunch of other people try to get in contact with him and then run him down the drain for what his opinions are. But gave me an idea exactly why he believes those guys picked him, and said, look, man, this is pretty much, an American bias in favor of Errol Spence in favor of Terence Crawford. An American style biased in favor of Errol Spence, Terence Crawford. Where Errol Spence Jr., on the other hand, does not have the typical Black American style. And when you look at the two and you're used to seeing the quote unquote typical Black American style beat the style that Errol Spence Jr. uses, which is more of a prototypical base Mexican style, is the way that he described it. There you will see that people tend to pick for the guy that has the more athletic, the more spontaneous, the more, quote unquote rhythmic style versus the guy that has the more pressure, cut off the ring, pressure make pipes bust type of style. And that explains why you'll see guys like Tim Bradley, Roy Jones Jr., Antonio Tarver, and guys like that who fight more in that style, and they fight in that style for a reason, because they think that style is more effective. And in a lot of ways, it really, really is more effective, and it has been more effective at a very, very high level. Now, this is the thing, though, and I've said this before, and I maintain this to be true. If you have, take Robert Garcia, for example, the brother trainer of Mikey Garcia has said recently that Black fighters are, the biggest rival of Mexican fighters. And I don't know why people don't say that more in boxing, because it's definitely true. That is a significant and real rivalry, which, by the way, Black Americans are winning by leaps and bounds. But at the same time, this is a reality that people will see. If you have an A+ level Black American style fighter, like a Floyd Mayweather Jr., like a Roy Jones Jr., guys like that, like A+ level, where they can fight Pernell Whitaker, super Pernell Whitaker is like a perfect example of it, because, the longer that Pernell Whitaker, it's been since he fought, the less people remember exactly how athletic and slick that dude was. But that type of guy is going to beat your rugged, come forward, pressure fighting Mexican most of the time. That's that level of guy. However, if you mess around and are a B level guy at that level, at that style, and you get an A level pressure fighter, that A level fighter, or even a pressure fighter that's a B+ level pressure fighter, and you're a B level athletic fighter, that pressure fighter is going to beat you because of the simple mathematics of it. The fact that pressure is on you, and you may not, you don't have the reflexes, you don't have the athletic skill or the timing to just have that little inch that you need in order to take advantage of it, right? So in this particular instance, though, what I think you have Errol Spence Jr., who is an A+ level pressure fighter, A+ level pressure fighter who has the athleticism to boot, which you typically do not have in that real pressure Mexican fighter. Not saying, you'll have some real athletic guys, take, for example, Oscar De La Hoya. Oscar De La Hoya is that really, really athletic, very fast, quick, but he's not a pressure fighter. He's more of a guy that will fight from the outside, or he'll walk you down. He fights more in that all around kind of style, which I would say is more similar to the typical African American style fighter. But a super athletic, big, strong pressure fighter, that style is not going to be favored as much against a guy that people think is an A+ level African American style fighter, if that makes sense to you. And I think that's what he said, and I agree with. That is probably the fundamental bias that people have. And you can also hear that in what Derek James has to say, where Derek James is people don't appreciate the subtleties in what Errol Spence Jr. does. The fact that he's making subtle adjustments, the way that he cuts off the ring, right? If you look at some of the fights, for example, there was a fight that took place last night, and it was against a guy, I think his name was Gonzalez. He may have been a Dominican. And then you had, Lamont Roach Jr. and looked at how that fight went between the two of those. To me, that was pretty much the same type of scenario where you had Gonzalez, who had the more athletic style, but you had Lamont Roach, who was more of the pressure fighter, working behind the jab. But Gonzalez didn't have the athleticism and the quickness. But where Lamont Roach did have that athleticism and quickness, but the pressure style at the same time, and that wound up being victorious. So that's what I think people should keep their eye out on in this particular fight with Errol Spence Jr. and Terence Crawford, and should also understand that when people are making predictions about fights, especially with some of these guys that really do not watch all of these fights, they see a little bit of a fighter here, a little bit of fighter there. If they're calling a fight and they're there, they'll watch that fighter and they'll prepare and watch tapes on that fighter, but they're not really, for fighters on other networks, spending a whole lot of time investigating it. Similar, like, especially when you listen to Antonio Tarver talk about Errol, you could tell that he didn't really watch a lot of his fights because he's saying he didn't see Errol do certain things, where if you've watched all of his fights, you would have seen him show glimpses of this and glimpses of that. But anyway, that's my take on the scenario. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.